Hello, my friends. Welcome back. Today, we're going to discuss two major news. The first one is that the oil production continues to rise, besides or despite the OPEC Plus pledges. And on the other side, our second major news today is that ING Bank from Netherlands has done a massive research, and they're predicting that 50% of all gas stations are going to close to 2030 or so. They have 5 to 10 years time from today. Welcome, my friends. You're watching the Better Future Project, where we are all about sharing positivity, knowledge, and having a good time together. First thing first, Tesla stock. Tesla stock has seen a massive surge. We can clearly see that the surge is just unstoppable. It's following couple of days of growth. Current price for Tesla is $246.39 per share. Of course, this is split adjusted, so that's the actual price today. Now, OPEC seems to be having issues, or at least OPEC Plus. What happens is Nigeria and Iran has boosted OPEC's oil production regardless of or despite of the pledges that OPEC Plus has made. It seems that the OPEC's all 12 producers, which is the whole OPEC's countries, pump 26.7 barrels per day, which is quite significant amount of number. And of course, this means that the market is going to be a little bit saturated. It seems that Nigeria has increased its oil production by 50,000 barrels per day for the last month. And of course, that's Africa's top oil producer. And after years of underperforming in the OPEC Plus deal, which led to OPEC Plus group cutting its quota at the end of last year. Iran is exempted from OPEC Plus agreement, so its output rise to 3.2 million barrels per day in June, matching the Islamic Republic's recent 5 years high from November 2023, according to the monthly surveys by Reuters. The biggest decline in the output came from Iraq, OPEC's second largest producer, which reduced production by 50,000 barrels per day. At least that's what Reuters survey says. Now, it seems that there are still some heavy reliant economies on their petrol producing businesses or states. Without this petrol, without this producing of these millions of barrels per day, those countries will have a major impact on their economies. On the other side, what is really scary is the news that ING Bank came with. It seems that the countries that are adopting electric vehicles are actually the ones that are leading the march to closing all those gas stations. According to the survey, it seems that between the next 5 to 10 years, or like Tony Seba likes to say, to about 2030, we're going to see a decline of 50% of all gas stations across the Western civilization, and mostly and mainly into the very developed countries that are adopting EV on mass proportions, on mass scale. This is super important for everyone who is looking into either getting EV or either has some investments into EVs or petrol stations, oil producers, etc. As we know, the mass scale of producing of anything leads to cheaper prices. So we might see some temporary, perhaps not that temporary, we will see less production of petrol or less use of all sorts of gas or whatnot, but the prices might go up because the expenses for bringing in that oil from the ground and producing it to petrol and gas and etc. is actually pretty much the same. The transportation is additional and it varies expense. This survey shows us that the reducing of the fumes, reducing of the CO2 emissions is actually happening a lot faster than people were thinking. So now I'm looking towards GM and Ford and other car manufacturers, Stellantis, for example, and I'm thinking they still believe they're going to be selling internal combustion engines cars, ICE cars, in 2030 and beyond. The fact is that the trend is there. And also we have a major news, like GM reported in their second quarter that the EV sales has grown with 40%. Now this number is huge. This 40%, we come from a low base, so it's not that big of a number, but they have sold over 20,000 electric vehicles. In my estimations, Tesla has about over 6 million vehicles on the roads. And then you've got the Chinese that are just boosting their EV production like crazy. It seems like China has invested anything between 250 billion to 500 billion into EVs. The data varies big time because everybody has some sort of access to details that others don't, and there are some calculations that people can make. They can be kind of educated guesses, but they're still guesses. Anyhow, if you look at this, that 6 million EVs are now not going to the petrol stations to put some fuel in, this is going to definitely have some serious impact on those gas stations. And we can see, like in country Norway, the adoption of electric vehicles is through the roofs. You're still going to have some sort of stations. I would call them petrol slash EV stations, because I think there will be some sort of hybrids, at least temporary, until the petrol station the petrol site is continuously removed, until there is not cars that are going to use some sort of petrol or gas. Now, if you look at this is actually good news and bad news. Bad news is because a lot of people will lose their businesses, big chains will lose their power, if I may put that one. And on the other side, it's going to be good for all of us because you can charge your car at home. You don't need to rush to somewhere. However, on a long distance, when you travel from point A to point B and slightly longer distance, you can still stop by, put your car for charging, refresh yourself with a sandwich and a drink, just feel better, and hop back into your car and go to your destination, towards your destination. So that's not all bad. We're looking that the changes and the economies are going to change. Now back to OPEC and OPEC Plus. It's really, really serious because those countries are having about 5 years time, 5 to 6 years time to 2030 to have this, I would say, seismic earthquake that's going to hit their economies big time. Guys, petrol usage is going down, and that is good. It seems that Elon Musk took the charge and led this war against polluting vehicles, ICE vehicles, and he's taking it to a new level. It seems that it's working really well. Tesla alone sells about 2 million vehicles a year, EV vehicles. Now, that 2 million vehicles will never use petrol. Directly, they will never be charged with petrol. Now, this is a big thing because if you put that one car drives around on average standard, I'll put like on average 10,000 miles a year. We're looking into about 60 to 70 pounds, or about $100 per fuel tank per 400 miles. These are obviously very rough estimations, but if you time this like 25 times, you're going to have a clear idea of how much money do you actually put into your car. So that will be about 2.5, 3,000 US dollars a year for a whole year. So if you look at this, that you put like the bottom line, 2,000 US dollars in petrol for the whole year. That's all, let's say. And then you have 2 million vehicles times 2,000 US dollars. We are talking about billions of dollars that are not going to go to the petrol stations and to the oil conglomerates, because those cars don't use that source of fuel. And this number is per year. So onto the next year, if we have another 2 million vehicles, now we're going to have 4 in total. That means we're looking now towards crazy numbers. On top of that, semi-production is coming with a full speed, and this will further curb the usage of petrol. And once this is in mass production and other players comes around from China and of course from the Western civilizations, we're going to see the petrol usage, the oil usage, the diesel usage, the gas usage. It is just gonna collapse right in front of our eyes. And I believe that 50%, that what ING is predicting, is too low. It's very pessimistic. I think we're looking at of mass closures of petrol stations. I believe it will be a bigger number than 50% into the countries that are adopting EVs that massively and that quickly. And of course, today we are going to update what happened with Tesla stock and what happened with my portfolio. It seems that Tesla is on a good run, but piece of advice: just because Tesla jumped quickly or dropped down uh, today or tomorrow or yesterday, it doesn't mean much. You can't really feel really good, like really smart or very successful if the price of a stock goes with 10 or 20% higher. Because when the price of the stock goes 10 or 20% lower, it's not going to be very nice to feel 10 or 20% dumber or unsuccessful. We're looking here at a trend, and we're looking here at a long-term horizon. Now, because Tesla stock jumped significantly, and it's my biggest investment by far in my portfolio, we can see that the total value of my portfolio is just under 28.5 thousand, or to be more exact, 28.498 thousand. This is really good because when the portfolio is growing with the speed that it's currently growing, it shows that the investments that I have chosen are working. This is my homework. I'm sure you guys have to do your own homework and etc. That's not an advice I'm giving you. All I'm going to be doing from now on is I'm going to show you my portfolio, how it's performing, and at the end of each video, I'm going to add some information for the companies I've currently purchased, why I have chosen them, and of course, if you like that, this could be helpful for you too. And quickly, I'm going to start from the bottom, and I'm going to talk about Netflix. Netflix is a residual income company based on a subscription basis. I love companies that are offering subscription services because I believe they are very resilient against all sorts of hardship times. During the pandemic, Netflix grew significantly, which means that Netflix is not geolocated or virus affected. Netflix is a company that is streaming across the world. It has fantastic shows. Some of them are one of my favorites. They can also implement AI in order to find out the best movies for the people that are currently watching and obviously are their clients. And it also AI can help them to choose and pick up movies that are on the platform, and then which one they need to take off the platform to make more space, and of course have these great varieties. Netflix is a company that is run very efficiently, very effectively. And there are some fantastic management secrets into how Netflix is running their management team. And I encourage you, if you have time, to go online, research a little bit, and find out how they actually hire and fire and maintain their teams, because it's fantastic reading. And of course, at some point in the future, I'm going to do a little video about it. So Netflix is one of my smallest positions at the moment. I'm just like testing the water, but it seems that the company is on a fantastic rise. Thank you so much for today. If you enjoy my content, like and subscribe. And the Better Future project is going to be here. It's going to communicate how the earth and the countries across the world are transforming their economies from petrol-based or some sort of petrol-based usage towards renewable energy or carbon neutral economies. This is going to be good for all of us as a humanity, so make sure you stay tuned. I'll see you into the next one.